Good evening, and welcome to our continuing series, Explorations in Savitri, with our beloved Alok. On this day, November 17th, 45 years ago, Mother left her physical body. For many of us, it was a deep physical blow. We obviously had not grown enough to understand that she had universalized herself, but we saw that small body lying there in the meditation hall, half crippled up because she could no longer lie flat. We had been in Bangalore collecting plants for the Machmali.
Oh, you were in India at that time?
Yes.
Oh.
And at 5 a.m, someone shoved the newspaper under our door, and the front cover was Mother has left.
You mean on 18th November morning 5 o'clock
17th,
news?
17th.
Yeah, but 17th they wouldn't have known. The newspaper of the 18th.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
And so we came immediately, and there were long lines going around and around. We went around many times. Of course, I've read, I think, everything that was written about her passing. Nolini, Satprem. We listened to Pranab's talk in the playground, and it was devastating to us. And Dr. Bisht also wrote very beautifully. So
I think Dr. Bish was the mother's physician, so to say.
we went around as many times as we could. So were you there?
No, and I think in a way it's a grace. I was just sharing this today with Anmol that, people who were present with the mother in the physical body, of course, we also, I'm sure, were present, but in a previous life. So they depended so much on the physical body and the bodily presence that they felt this deep shock. And those of us who have come later, who have grown up very, if I may say so, organically and naturally into the yoga, we see this event very differently. Like I can share with you my little experience that when I read through the books, everything I had read actually, and never this occurred to me that she meant to physically transformed in this way that, the whole body one day miraculously we'll see a supramentalized body. It never occurred to me because I read those statements that it will take 1,000 years and a few hundred years you wait. So it was very obvious to me that this was not meant to be right now.
And she asked Dr. Bisht, and he said the body cannot do it anymore.
Yeah, well, Dr. Bist had a very, I know him very well, and he has shared many things. He had his own limited vision, and the beauty is mother wanted somebody with a limited vision. Yeah. She said, I want somebody who can just tell me physically what is happening.
Yes.
And not look at it from the deeper angle. And he didn't have that. That's the best part.
Yes.
But he had his own deep connection with the mother. So, by the way, he is the person who introduced the concept of spiritual health in WHO. So, yeah, how she has worked through and Jipmar, she gave the message. And so, all this one side of the story, whosoever life she touched. So, to someone like me, and I'm sure many others, this dilemma never came. This issue never came. And I remember on 2 occasions, one with Hutadi and once someone else, who said, when mother was there. Hutadi once mentioned in front of me and somebody, when mother was there. And I spontaneously said, please don't say that. So I said, when you say was, it doesn't make any sense to us. Like she is so concrete and real and living. It never occurred to me that mother was and is not. But I can understand people who, in fact, when I came here, I was very surprised when someone told me, when mother was there, then things were different. I got it had a jarring note. I've been coming for years, and it never struck me that she's not here. But I mean, so probably I think though they were very much physically dependent, and the Divine Mother wants us to progress inwardly enough. When Ravindraji was asked that was the yoga easy at that time, he said no, because we largely dependent on her physical appearance, and she kept reminding that I am not this.
Yes. Yes.
But those of you who have come later, Ravindraji's words, you find it so natural and spontaneous to seek her in the psychic through the psychic door, and you are very fortunate. And I 200% agree with him. This coming generations will not have this conception of, and they will understand very naturally that it's going to take a few centuries. I mean, it's after all a project of this nature. So now, of course, having read everything from agenda, and I have my own understanding, which I think we have shared on a different occasion. So that's how it is.
So we go back
Yeah.
to Savitri.
And in a way, it connects because we are reading the little mind. So Sri Aurobindo uses, there is the little mind and the greater mind. And the fundamental difference is this, that the little mind leans heavily upon matter. It is the mind which is embodied, human beings embody, because the power of the mind which has entered, and it has created these three layers as it has evolved in matter, with matter as basis. So it's heavily dependent on the material senses. And therefore its arc of vision or its movement is limited within the circle of matter and material realities and whatever it receives through the material senses. That's why it's the little mind. And three layers which Sri Aurobindo will reveal to us: the physical mind, and which is totally dependent on the physical senses; the vital mind, which takes flight of imagination. But even its imagination, it still draws data from whatever it has actually seen.
Yes.
It cannot imagine something which it has never experienced. It will still, even if it sees a blue god, it will still be blue as it has conceived. It has experienced. And then we have the rational mind, which depends on pure analysis. So these three are the little mind. And why I said it connects with the event of 17th November, how can our mind, so limited by the senses, can understand the mystery of God's birth in time? To all our rational thought, to all our analytical mind, to all our physical senses, she is no more. But can we say with certainty either this way or that way, as long as we are cabined in the physical mind or the material mind? The mind has to free itself from that and reclaim faculties of inspiration, intuition, revelation, illumination to really know.
But on behalf of all those who touched Mother's feet, looked into her eyes, I can understand
Exactly.
that
I mean,
loss.
and Sri Aurobindo himself said one moment of that physical touch
Yes.
is greater than 1,000 subjective experiences. So there is no doubt that the embodied divine and the mystery, that manifestation, is beyond comprehension.
Yes.
At the same time, at some point, one has to get into the, one has to discover her here and start the, so both things equally valid. And who knows, we may have been, in all likelihood, after all, we all have lived with her in many lives. That's the mother's statement. So it's quite likely that we have experienced both, and now we are experiencing this side of the coin.
Yes.
So we continue on page 241. Even a greater miracle was done. So even this little mind, even here, many things happen and can happen. The mediating light linked body's power, the sleep and dreaming of the tree and plant, the animal's vibrant sense, the thought in man, to the effulgence of a ray above. This is very interesting that, Shibindu used the word the dreaming of the tree and plant. So surely what looks on the surface is not the whole truth of the matter. Plants have their own consciousness, their own inner life, however limited it is. They aspire, and mother has told us about sitting before the cherry blossom tree, and she gets the aspiration of the tree, and the tree reveals the secret that the disorders of the spring can be healed by it.
Yes.
And also she sees that how it is aspiring for the light to come back.
Yes.
So there is a subconscious life of the tree and the plant which we miss. And yet through this life, which is still a manifestation of the rudimentary mind, it tries to seek something higher up. So it is the mediating light. It is not the soul in that sense, but through this little mind.
And Sri Aurobindo speaks of even a greater miracle.
Yes.
But that miracle, he says, doesn't really exist.
Because there is a process.
Yes.
But even the animal's vibrant sense, how animals sense
Yes,
the divinity.
yes.
I mean, this famous donkey, how he would respond to mother's force, the bullock, so many of the animals. So the crow, one can
crow.
understand the donkey and the bullock, still a quadruped, at least it's a mammal.
But
But look at the crow, a bird. And this bird called Blackie would take food from mother's hand, and one day she didn't come out. And when Champaklal came and gave the crow food, it refused to eat. How does a crow sense that no, I want only her? Of course, Champaklalji could be very intimidating in his presence. But I'm sure the crow didn't run away, it just didn't eat. So, its skill endorsing matters right to think, cuts sentient passages for the mind of flesh, and found a means for nescience to know. Mind of flesh, so the brain. So through the brain we see so many gyri and sulci which have evolved over millenniums, and it has cut these passages for the greater light to express. It shaped the instrument, meaning thereby it is consciousness that shapes the instrument, because the little mind has to manifest, reason has to manifest. And though it manifests even in the crow and the even in the spider in some way, rudimentary reason, even in the plant, but to really express itself, the bodily instrument has to be shaped. So it shapes, cuts sentient passages. So evolution is first consciousness changes, then it puts a pressure on the bodily self, and then the body undergoes a change. And this is a two-step process.
Do you agree that only 10% of the brain is used?
Well, that's what they say, and percentage is difficult, but there is a little catch to it. It means that the brain is static and there is 90% to be used. But my personal understanding is that brain, like every other part, is evolving. Now, because this little change of thought changes everything. If it is evolving, then you can play with it. It's an organ, in fact, this concept has come now, and the concept is neuroplasticity. So it means that when you have a stroke, a particular area of the brain goes away, and so you can't function. You can't speak, for example, if the speech area is grown. But there are other areas of the brain which can take up the function and can, start functioning. This is called neuroplasticity. So the brain is evolving. We see even now, Desiree, we have someone who lost the speech and his speech has almost come back.
Did you see her video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we had this famous Lightdi, Desiree house she used to live. And when she had a paralytic stroke, one day she saw in the dream, mother comes to her. She is looking at the picture and mother comes to her, and it's a dream vision. And mother gives her something to eat, like a prasad, as if she comes out of the picture. And she says, I can't take it because I must take it with my other hand. So she starts putting the whatever paralyzed hand was there, the other hand, the healthy hand. Mother says, no, no, with that hand. And she says, I can't. It's paralyzed. Mother says, you try. So in that experience, she tries with great difficulty and she eventually takes it. Then she took it as an indication, and every day she would do this little exercise. With the other healthy hand, she would lift the other hand as if she is feeding something to the mother. And she recovered her function fully. So you see, there is a constant change. So it's true that there is a lot of areas of the brain unused, but it's also true that new areas are coming into play. And scientists are discovering it, which is amazing. Because ultimately, even when intuition manifests through the physical, it has to have some kind of a instrument, readiness. Yes. So this is a big conundrum, because people often say that it's the brain which is because of which there is consciousness. But here it's the other way around. It is consciousness that shapes the instrument.
And Mother says that even in a coma, the mind is still growing.
That is. They have done research. I have been there actually to the faculty in NIMAS where they do consciousness research. And they actually found that even when somebody is in coma and you say something, see, people forget that in coma, your ears are still open, your touch is, you don't know what's happening inside. And when they said certain words, the certain areas of the brain responded. So they concluded that. And that's why I keep telling people that when somebody is in coma, don't think that he's already dead. There is a difference between the two. So go and touch. Maybe, say gently into the ears that everything is fine. Or just that, we love you. We're grateful for all you have done. So it helps because there are other means through which communication goes. And it has been registered now that yes, something does get registered. Because there are, instruments like that. Now he speaks about language. It's very interesting to look at language this way. Offering, now, he has spoken of, gives a means for nescience to know. So how do we get to know things? We use speech, language, thought. That's how we become aware. Somebody is very restless. One doesn't know why one is restless. Then it takes the form of a thought. I want to eat this. That's my desire. It takes a form. It takes the form of a language, a body of words. So language evolved essentially to express what's happening inside in terms of consciousness. It gives a form. So here he is saying, offering its little squares and cubes of word as figured substitutes for reality. Now this I feel is so important because in this whole few lines that follow, that we should not think the word is the reality. When Mother was asked that, what is it that you put into your words which makes it so powerful that when we read it, it awakens us. The same thing if somebody else says. Sometimes Mother's one-liners.
Yeah.
Learn to live within. Now, anybody can say it. But when you read it from the Mother, it's like it hits you. Now, what is it? She was asked. This is a long question. Mother's reply is one word. Consciousness. So words are a means to touch the consciousness and not to get lost in the external meaning. That's why Sri Aurobindo, there is a whole essay on the word of the scripture where he says many people, they get lost in the external maze, word meaning. Whereas actually you have to touch the essence, which is consciousness. So here he is explaining that it's a substitute for reality. Substitute can never be the reality. Right. It may be a good substitute or a bad substitute. A mummified mnemonic alphabet. Look at it. It helped the unseeing force to read her works. Mnemonic, it's like a string of words which are used like a memory peg to remind us of something else. So when we use the word, it's just like a mnemonic, mummified, like, Krishna, Krishna. Now, people say Krishna, Krishna. But when Draupadi says Krishna, Krishna manifests, it's so interesting. Because she puts that thing in the word, which may be missing. So otherwise it's nothing but a mummified mnemonic. You are saying Krishna, but you are not remembering the being, the power, the force You're just saying mechanically. And she says that's what the difference in a mechanical mantra and a mantra to which you add from the heart. So otherwise it's a mummified. Look at the word, not just mnemonic, mummified. Means it's like a rigid, something rigid, dead. It helped the unseen force to read her works. A buried consciousness arose in her, and now she dreams herself human and awake because of this language. That's all. And mother says at one place, you know what? Human being thinks they are very superior because they can express. What do you know? Animals can't express in their speech. They can't give beautiful speeches. So you think that they are not feeling? They are feeling. They are feeling more than human beings. But they can't express. So, don't think that because they can't express, they don't feel. They feel more. This sense of superiority because we can express. So we become human because now we can give a form. But all was still a mobile ignorance. That's why words which are meant to throw a bridge between two consciousnesses becomes a means to cut the bridge between two people. Because that's how, we get lost in the words. We don't touch what is behind. And so often we hear people saying, this is not what I meant. You have got me wrong. You got me wrong because you saw my words and you did not see the heart which is behind. It's a whole world of understanding. Still knowledge could not come and firmly grasp this huge invention seen as a universe. So there is a word for everything and there is a specific meaning. And yet it cannot grasp the reality because what is behind is ineffable. You cannot describe it. The moment you describe it, you lose it.
It's beyond words.
Beyond words, precisely because words will cut a section, then another section and try to put them together. But the reality is not like that. That's why mother says that, supramental speech is not yet come. You cannot describe the supramental experience because words cannot convey. They are used to three-dimensional and at most plus time dimension, they cannot convey.
Savitri is the closest.
Savitri is the closest, that's right. And even there, Shobinda says, it's not yet supramental speech. A specialist of logic's hard machine imposed its rigid artifice on the soul, an aid of the inventor intellect. It cut truth into manageable bits. This is exactly what we were saying.
Yeah.
So, when we were, there is a joke about it. We'll read this passage, then I'll tell you. There is a very interesting joke. That each might have his ration of thought food, then new built truth's slain body by its art.
Oh.
So when we joined the medical college, some of us came from a religious background, some traditional, some others atheist. So there used to be the joke, and some of those who didn't believe in, soul or God. We are cutting the dead body every day. Where is the soul? So I had a funny answer to this. I said, yeah, because it's dead, the soul is left. That's my childish answer. I said, logically it is said that when the body is dead, the soul leaves. So obviously if you cut the dead body, you won't find. Cut a living body and see. Then you will see whether soul is there or not. But of course, this was a very childish answer. I wouldn't dare to give that answer, but something much more. Now if somebody asks, I am reminded of Swami Ramtirth when he was asked after a big lecture, so you are saying, you mean to say that you have a soul? So he says, no, I am not saying that I have a soul. What are you saying all this while? He says, I am a soul, I have a body. So the perspective changes. So it says that it reconstitutes by slaying. That's why even the word integral world is not body plus life plus mind plus soul. Because then you are cutting into bits and showing them each as something different. And then you make a very rigid thing. But all the time, in a dynamic sense, there is an inflowing and an outflowing and a constant. The soul flows into the body, its substance. It gives to the body a sweetness, a lightness. Because it's not that, okay, soul is there and this is the body. And similarly, the body's inertia can cloud the soul. It's like that. And now, see how futuristic Sri Aurobindo is. A robo, exact and serviceable and false. How punchline. Today we are talking of artificial intelligence. And that was my take on it. Someone asked me. I said, artificial intelligence is all right. That's a project. Those who are interested, let them work on it. My interest is in divine intelligence, how human beings can evolve their intelligence toward divinity. But if we don't evolve and the robots come into play, then Isaac Asimov may be quite right that the rise of the machines. So we need to evolve our spiritual intelligence, or rather a mentalized intelligence, into a spiritual and a divine intelligence. Then robots are okay, but then you will rule them. Otherwise, they will begin to rule you like any other machine. So he speaks of it that it is a robo, exact and serviceable and false. Displays the spirit's finer view of things. Oh, the other day I was watching a video where somebody is saying what may happen 20 years, 30 years down the line, and projects that there would be artificial intelligence, so you don't need to go to the doctor. Doctors will become jobless. All right, logically correct, and many doctors are. I would agree that they are worse than robots. I don't deny. But then what you will miss is the healing touch. People don't go to doctors as a mechanical machine that you feed in the data and he comes out with a prescription. That yes, the robot can do. But who is going to say that don't worry, you'll be fine? Probably the robot will be very blunt and say you got cancer, malignancy, last stage, please sign, make it will, last will and be done with it. I give you 3 months. That's the end of the story. And after that, if the man says, really? Well, 3 months, that's how the robot will repeat. But a doctor wouldn't say that. He would say, well, my science is imperfect. Who knows? You must keep your will alive. Maybe celebrate every day of your life, even if you have 3 months or 3 days. So this is where the human touch comes in. So he is, with his own sense of humor, displays the spirit's finer view of things, which looks beyond the physical surface of things. A polished engine did the work of a god. It's perfect. But it's false by its very perfection. When Sri Aurobindo spoke that aphorism of Europe, I'm waiting for Europe to perfect its machinery and then a child will destroy it. And mother didn't comment on it. So it's very powerful. And if you look at it, one way to understand who is this child, the child of the new creation. Yes. The soul which plays with it. Because how many issues will you try to solve one issue with logic, another will come up. It's standing round the corner. None the true body found, its soul seemed dead. None had the inner look which sees truth's whole. All glorified the glittering substitute. So even the true body, we don't know. This gross body is not the true body. We can take the true body in the form of the subtle body, the inner bodies and the soul itself. So none could find it. And the glittering substitute, the outer shell. Now, because this has happened, there is another power that emerges. Then from the secret heights a wave swept down. Now again you see, before the emergence from within, there is a pressure of the consciousness from above. A power is sent by the higher states to enter into matter and awaken it, because otherwise it's getting locked into a very small movement.
The involution.
Involution. This is more than involution. It's now already there is an involution of these layers, but there is that level which is already involved. Corresponding to that, the power comes and presses upon matter to bring out. Like supermind is already involved. So when Mother and Sri Aurobindo come holding the supermind, and now there is the supramental manifestation, it will bring out that which is already within. So this power sweeps down. This power, actually, imagination, is the formative Maya, which in human beings turns into imagination. Imagination gives forms. And see, it is a greater reality. Look at, virtual reality shows, those who have attended, it's amazing. You know it's not real, and yet you go through all the experiences. You really feel, and you keep reminding it's not real. You look around and you say it's not real. And still your body, your mind, everything is reacting. It's so strange.
Have you done this thing with the glasses?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I have 2-3 places, and recently I had the experience of the 12D, where they also give those water and smells, etc. And in this 12D, they took through a very fast ride. Now, it was an experiment, few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, but mind-boggling. It like goes up, down, and you actually experience that. Well, it's going to go down, fall down, and you keep reminding it's not happening, and yet your body and something in the mind react till you reach a point where you have to completely separate. So I had done it to basically practice this once again in this way, because otherwise in normal life it's easy to separate because you have time. Here it's like something which is so fast. It's amazing. So this power comes in from above. This is the power of imagination. It's the same power which God, Brahman, uses, Maya, which gives the sense of a reality in bits and parts. So that power in human beings turns into imagination. It's a formative power. So if you imagine a ghost, well, whether ghost is there or not is not the issue, but you start experiencing. So if human beings know how to use this power, it can open the path. That's how very often people say, oh, but you are imagining there is God. Fine, it's a power given to you. Start with imagination. Yes. You will end up with reality. You will anyways imagine something. If you imagine there is no God, you will end up discovering that there is no God. Strange. Because it's a formative power. So this is the power that comes, and how beautifully he describes. Then from the secret heights a wave swept down, a brilliant chaos of rebel light arose. It wants to break free from this gluing to matter. It looked above and saw the dazzling peaks. It does not know what's hidden, but it feels that there is something beyond which is hidden. It looked within and woke the sleeping God. It just, there is God inside. And it woke up. Imagination called her shining squads that venture into undiscovered scenes where all the marvels lurk, none yet has known. That's why you see this nowadays you have comics and television shows on Mahabharata and Ramayana and many such things. Now I didn't grow up on that because they had not yet come into full swing. So I just read. People often ask that how is it? I said no, this is not better. The one where it was not illustrated was better. They asked why. I said I had my own picture of Krishna, which my mind had developed. I had my own image of Arjuna. But now when you have the illustration, I have to fix my mind onto the image which somebody else has created. I don't want that. And I can tell you till date that image remains.
The same when we were children.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything we had to listen to or read.
Yes. Now you have this. So you think it has become more convenient, but you have snatched the faculty of imagination.
Yes.
And the power of imagination. Yes. Lifting her beautiful and miraculous head, she conspired with inspiration's sister brood. So shining squads of imagination and sister brood of inspiration, they come together to fill thought skies with glimmering nebula. Some light points suddenly began to appear. This is the early age of mankind lived on this. The age of the myths when reason had not come. A bright error fringed the mystery altars freeze. Darkness grew nurse to wisdom's occult sun. So within this realm of darkness, some light came and this freeze like a border. You put something on a wall like a wallpaper, but which blends so well it looks like the real wall. So it's not the real thing, but yet it's like a border through which you can feel the touch of something greater, something higher. Myth suckled knowledge with her lustrous milk. So, that's why I feel one of the things that today's children are missing is myths. And Jungian psychology, the Swiss
Yes,
psychologist, he said that those who have grown up on myths strangely develop a very, their intelligence is more developed and can work in many ways. It gives them a kind of resilience when they face life than those who were just brought up on hard facts. So now it's very unfortunate that we have very little myths. They are there, but even I have met parents who feel they should not tell myths because it's like cutting the child away from reality. So I had once a parent who said, but I have not taught about Hanuman stories and all. I said, why? He said, because he has to face reality. I said, how do you know that you have not blocked him from a deeper reality? You have snatched away his possibilities, potentials, his aspiration to one day fly and catch the sun. The deeper urge, psychic urge to serve the Lord, you have just snatched away everything and given him what? Substitute. This so-called hard reality as if this is the only reality.
And every country has grown up with myths.
Yes. And in India, it's the land of myths. Yeah. You hear myths for everything there is a myth. We have so many festivals, people don't realize for every festival there is a story. Other day we were sharing the story of Baiduj. And it's amazing, all these stories. Rakhi, there is a story. Everything. Ekadashi, there will be a story. And it's not about whether these stories are physically feasible or real or not. But they give you something deeper and profound. The infant passed from dim to radiant breast. So he's saying, imagination brings some kind of a light. Thus worked the power upon the growing world. Its subtle craft withheld the full-orbed blaze. Cherished the soul's childhood. And on fictions fed, far richer in their sweet and nectarous sap, nourishing its immature divinity, than the staple or dry straw of reason's tilth. Tilth. That soil when the first things which grow on that. Dry straw and reason's tilth. He says it looks fiction. Yes. You have to be too foolish to believe that actually monkey was speaking in a, human language, or the bear was, speaking in a human language, or monkey was flying. Obviously, it's obvious the story is not true in a physical sense. And if you start taking like that Krishna was actually blue in color when he was on earth, or Shiva is holding a serpent all the time, a very inconvenient serpent, so to say, obviously you are fooling yourself. But if you look at the symbol, it gives you a far richer truth. One line, since we are at Ramayana, and people often, do you really believe Ramayana existed? How can monkey speak? I said, that's not the issue. Ramayana is not trying to prove a point that monkey spoke. But look at what Ramayana is saying. Is there an animal type of humanity? Yes. Is there a bear kind of humanity? Yes. Is there a fallen humanity? Yes. Look what Ramayana is teaching us. The first seeds of socialism. In one line it is captured, and the line goes like this. Ganika is talking about the Lord Rama. Ganika, Ajamil, Vyad, Geed, Gajad, Khal, Tare, Gana. Look at the grace of the Lord. Ganika, the notch girl. Ajamil, the sinner. Vyad, the butcher, the hunter. Geed, the vulture. Jatayu and Sampati, vultures are supposed to be the worst creatures because they eat the scavengers. The elephant, the monkey, they're all liberated by the Lord, meaning thereby I surely have hope. All of us. Look at the profound message. You are lost in whether, monkey spoke or not. Obviously, that's either you believe that somebody who wrote the Ramayana with such a beauty of language and meter and subtlety of emotions was an outright fool to, put it. Either you believe, in which case he wouldn't have written such a profound scriptures which continues to influence the mind of the race for centuries. Or you take it that obviously, like I give the modern analogy, George Orwell's Animal Farm. So when you read Animal Farm, you don't say ki this is not real. It's a point which is being conveyed. Alice in Wonderland, it's not about reality, it conveys a point. So it's not whether Ramayana existed or not existed, that's a different debate altogether. But look at the profundity of, what it's feeding us with. The thoughts of socialism where even the animal is not left an outcast. The socialism as we practice today is very human-centric, which means that human beings can come together and destroy the animal life because, well, for humans, which is very dangerous. That's not socialism, but the socialism of a spiritual kind is where even the fallen, the animal, the lowest of the lowly creature is part of that. Of course, for me, Rama and Krishna exist as a psychological reality, spiritual reality. But that's a different debate. But just look at the myth. And Sri Aurobindo, that famous aphorism where he says that men wonder whether the gospel and the stories of Vrindavan, whether they existed or not. Then he says that let them dispute. This is a beautiful aphorism, not exact word. But he says, thanks for the gospel and the forgeries. They save mankind alive. So, beautiful lines these are. It's heaped fodder of innumerable facts. Plebeian fare on which today we thrive. Plebeian fare is like the common markets. In old time we used to have. I think in US also they have these in countryside, those fairs.
Oh, yes.
In India we used to. Now everybody goes to fair, but what do you get? Those common cheap items.
Yes.
So it's the same thing, innumerable facts. So people go to fair because there are a lot of things there, but they're all worthless. You're just, okay, fine, let me pick up something. So innumerable facts, but none of them is of any significance or worth. Thus stream down from the realm of early light, ethereal thinkings into matter's world. Its gold-horned herds trooped into earth's cave heart. Gold-horned. In Yagnavalka's story it comes. Horns, inconscient. Still there is a touch of the higher light. So Sri Aurobindo says gold-horned. How beautifully, herds. Trooped into earth's cave heart. They are coming directly. They are bypassing all this logical mind. Its morning rays illume our twilight's eyes. Its young formations move the mind of earth in the typal age of mankind. To labor and to dream and new create. Because then you can dream that one day I can fly like Hanuman. Then you can dream to be noble as Rama, to be virtuous and enduring and strong as Sita. Because that's how you can dream. Otherwise, if you see reality, you will say it's an impossibility. Savitri itself is that. You can conquer death. To feel beauty's touch and know the world and self, the golden child began to think and see. So golden child is obviously the truth soul, which has entered into matter and now it is emerging out. So as it emerges, it begins to think and see, even though it is yet to develop its deeper eyes. So we'll stop here.